Kirtop here, and these are 100 archaeological discoveries you didn't know about yet. At the moment when the ancient Egyptians laid the foundation for their majestic pyramids, the world was completely different. Woolly mammoths were still roaming our planet, highlighting the contrast between ancient civilizations and the prehistoric wild. Among all the architectural wonders created by human hands, the Pyramid of Khufu stands out in particular. It is not only the only one of the 7 wonders of the world that has survived to this day, but it also has a unique architectural feature. It has 8 sides, not 6, as it might seem. At first glance, this feature of the Great Pyramid becomes noticeable only under certain lighting and highlights the high level of knowledge of the ancient builders. Interestingly, contrary to popular belief, the pyramids do not contain hieroglyphs or other inscriptions that could tell us about the life and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. This makes them different from other tombs, which are often decorated with images and texts. The Great Pyramids are more like monumental tombs than history books, and they don't have any. No treasures or paintings that are usually associated with pharaonic tombs have been found. The grandeur of the pyramids also amazed later generations. Napoleon, after visiting the Great Pyramid at the end of the 18th century, was so impressed by its scale that he estimated the blocks of the pyramid would be enough to build a 3-meter-high wall around the entire mainland of France. This testifies to the extraordinary amount of labor and materials invested in the construction of the pyramid. Only the Great Wall of China and the dam at the Three Gorges can rival the Pyramid of Khufu in terms of weight and scale of construction. This shows how far humanity has advanced in the art of building. To conclude this segment, it's worth remembering Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, whose life was closer to our time than to the era of the construction of the Pyramid of Khufu. This is a reminder of the vastness of time during which ancient Egyptian civilization developed and changed, leaving behind such majestic monuments as the pyramids. The oldest bread in the world. During the excavations 2 years ago in the famous ancient Anatolian city of Çatalhöyük, archaeologists discovered a large structure that was used as a communal oven. Traces of plant and food remains were also found, including an unusual porous residue with an interesting texture. Research has shown that this strange substance is actually the remains of leavened bread, which according to radiocarbon dating was made around 6,600 BC. It can be said with confidence that this find in Çatalhöyük is the oldest bread in the world. Researchers were able to determine that this was an ordinary small-sized bread and was probably regularly consumed by a significant portion of the 70,000 residents of Çatalhöyük in 6,600 BC. Interestingly, the bread was actually not baked in the large oven where it was found. Technically speaking, claiming that the discovered bread is the oldest in the world is incorrect. A few years ago, archaeologists discovered remains identified as flatbread at a 14,000-year-old hunter-gatherer site in Jordan known as Shubeika. And recently there was a report about bread that is 34,000 years old in Australia. But the new discovery is the oldest form of leavened bread ever found, which gives the Çatalhöyük artifact particular significance. A hidden tunnel. Beneath a colossal temple dedicated to the god Osiris, a mysterious tunnel was discovered that had been concealed for centuries. And this is where it gets really interesting. There are theories that this tunnel could lead to the long-lost tomb of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. A joint Dominican-Egyptian archaeological mission from the University of Santo Domingo discovered this 1,305-meter-long tunnel beneath the Temple of Osiris at Taposiris Magna in Alexandria. The lead archaeologist, Dr. Kathleen Martins, called this discovery an engineering marvel. According to her, the design of the tunnel is very similar to the design of the Eupalinas tunnel in Greece, which was an aqueduct before it collapsed. Studies have shown that this area of the Egyptian coast was affected by at least 23 earthquakes between 320 and 1303 AD, which, according to archaeologists, led to the collapse of the tunnel. Scientists have been studying the ruins around Taposiris Magna for several years. It is possible that this tunnel does not lead to the long-lost tomb of Cleopatra, but who knows what else Taposiris Magna is hiding? Perhaps in the future, Archaeological work will uncover this great mystery. The Persian Princess, a fake mummy or a modern murder? In 2000, Pakistani authorities acquired a mummy presented as the Persian Princess and held a press conference to show everyone this unique discovery. It was believed that the mummy was the daughter of King Xerxes I, dated to around 600 BC. The discovery sparked international disputes between Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan over who was the rightful owner of the mummy. However, after conducting actual research, it became clear that the mummy was a fake. The coffin in which the mummy was found was made from wood that is only 250 years old. The mummy itself was much younger, belonged to a 20-year-old woman, and was made only a few years ago. Thus, the study of the mummy turned into an investigation of a modern murder. This incident served as a reminder of the complexities associated with the antiquities and forgery market, as well as the need for thorough research before recognizing an artifact as a genuine historical discovery. From this story, we can conclude that many mummy cases actually conceal real modern murders. Ancient wolf from the permafrost. During an expedition in Siberia, an incredible discovery was made: an ancient wolf, amazingly well preserved in the permafrost. The wolf carcass, discovered at a depth of about 40 meters near the Terektiak River in the Abiski district of Yakutia, was transferred to the Mammoth Museum in Yakutsk for further research. The condition of the wolf amazed scientists. After 44,000 years, its fur, bones, organs, and even its fearsome teeth were preserved. Experts call this discovery unprecedented, as it is the oldest known wolf to have been dissected. They hope that studying the stomach and other organs will shed light on the wolf's diet and environment. The stomach remained isolated without contamination, which will allow for an instant snapshot of the biota from the ancient Pleistocene period. Studying its contents can reveal not only what the wolf ate, but also its prey. By the wear on the teeth and the development of the sagittal crest, it has already been determined that this is an adult male. The study of ancient bacteria can help in the development of new medicines and biotechnological products, which highlights the enormous significance of this discovery for the future. This discovery not only reveals the mysteries of the ancient world, but also opens new horizons for science and medicine. The daily life of ancient Egyptians. In the daily life of ancient Egyptians, breakfast did not have as extensive a menu as modern meals. Simple but nutritious foods formed the basis: bread made from emmer, a bit of honey or figs for sweetness, and possibly a small amount of cheese made from goat's milk. This meal emphasized practicality and the need to maintain energy for the day ahead. It is important to note that breakfast for the pharaoh and his family could be more varied and rich, including meat and fruits, highlighting their status and distinction from ordinary citizens. During the feast, Egyptians would display a wooden mummy for everyone to see. This custom served as a reminder of the brevity of life and the importance of enjoying the moment. This tradition was possibly inspired by the belief in the afterlife and the desire to remind guests of the inevitability of death, which made every moment of earthly life even more valuable. The very presence of the mummy at feasts may also have had ritual significance, connecting the living with the world of the dead and ensuring the favor of the gods. Footwear in ancient Egypt was not only a practical item, but also an expression of social status, and even a means of symbolic communication. Sandals of the upper classes could be made from expensive materials and decorated with intricate ornaments, emphasizing their high status. Images of enemies on the soles of sandals symbolize their defeat and subjugation, serving as a reminder of the power and might of their owner. The ancient Egyptians were exceptionally attached to their animals, which is reflected in the art and literature of that time. Cats, dogs, and even more exotic animals such as lions and monkeys were often depicted next to their owners, demonstrating the deep emotional bonds that developed between humans and animals. These animals not only served as companions, but also performed important functions in the household and religious rituals. Cats in Egypt were held in special reverence, being associated with the goddess Bastet, a symbol of protection and fertility. These animals were considered guardians of the home from evil spirits and pests. Dogs, associated with Anubis, the god of funerary rituals, also held an important place in the lives of the Egyptians. They not only served as loyal companions and helpers in hunting, but also symbolized eternal loyalty and protection. Fashion in ancient Egypt reflected not only social status, but also religious beliefs. Clothing made of fine linen, which allowed people to withstand the hot climate, was complemented by bright jewelry that not only decorated, but also served as amulets. Attention to detail in clothing, jewelry, and makeup indicates a highly developed sense of aesthetics and a belief in the protective magic of these items. Makeup, especially the famous black coal, was used not only to accentuate the eyes, but also as protection from sunlight and evil spirits. Beer was not just a popular beverage in ancient Egypt, it played a central role in the economy and social interaction. Being accessible and nutritious, beer served as the main beverage for all social classes and was even used as a means of payment. Beer production was a carefully regulated process controlled by the state, which highlights its importance not only as a commodity but also as a vital element in religious and public rituals. Children's hairstyles in ancient Egypt had not only an aesthetic but also a symbolic meaning. The lock of youth worn by children was not just a fashionable decoration, it symbolized their age and social status, and also protected them from evil spirits and diseases. This lock was cut off during the coming-of-age ceremony, highlighting the changes in their social status. Funerary portraits, which appeared in Egypt during the period of Greco-Roman influence, represent a unique combination of Egyptian religious traditions and Greco-Roman artistic techniques. These portraits, depicting the deceased with unusual realism, were meant to preserve their appearance for the afterlife, serving as a bridge between the worlds of the living and the dead. Egyptian hieroglyphs in Australia. In a secluded corner of Australia, on the shores of Brisbane Waters National Park, there are mysterious carved symbols known as the Gosford glyphs. These symbols, carved on rocks in the forest, spark endless debates among researchers and enthusiasts of ancient civilizations. The Gosford glyphs are a set of carved signs that, in their style, resemble ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. They depict various symbols, including figures of people, animals, and mystical creatures, as well as abstract signs and pictograms. These symbols are located on two large stone panels, and their content and origin remain a subject of debate to this day. The similarity of the glyphs to Egyptian hieroglyphs gives rise to the theory of a possible historical contact between ancient Egypt and Australia. Some researchers believe that the glyphs could have been created by Egyptians who traveled or were even shipwrecked on the Australian continent. A series of drawings tells the story of two princes who arrived from Egypt, one of whom died and was buried at this site. Translations and interpretations of these symbols differ, but many agree that the texts on the stones contain elements of ancient Egyptian rituals and beliefs. It is possible that this indicates that the ancient Egyptians really explored or even temporarily settled on Australian lands. Some symbols, such as the UFO glyph, are interpreted as depictions of unusual objects or phenomena, which only fuels interest in this place. The theory about the connection between Egypt and Australia is also supported by Aboriginal legends and the discovery of artifacts in Egypt that could indicate contact between the continents. For example, the discovery of tobacco and cocaine in mummies, plants that are native to the Americas, suggests that ancient cultures may have had advanced navigation skills and engaged in intercontinental trade. For ancient travelers, Australia could have represented not only a new land to explore, but also a place of pilgrimage where they could gain new knowledge and resources. The exchange of knowledge and technology could have been mutual, with the ancient Egyptians adopting unique survival methods and ways of understanding nature from the Aboriginal people. The Gosford glyphs confirm that human history may still hold many unexplored pages waiting to be discovered. Danish spirals. Archaeologists in Denmark discovered 2,000 gold spirals buried in a field, which are believed to have been used to decorate the ceremonial clothing of priest kings who worshipped the sun during the Bronze Age. The find dates back to the period between 900 and 700 BC and is made of pure gold. Each spiral is up to 3 cm long, and the total weight of the find is between 200 and 300 grams. The purpose of the spirals remains speculative. It is a subject of debate, since such a find was made in Denmark for the first time. It is assumed that the spirals could have been attached to threads decorating a hat or an umbrella, woven into hair, or embroidered onto ceremonial clothing. In addition to the spirals and gold bracelets, 6 gold cups were found here, discovered by local farmers in the 1800s. This area may have had religious significance as a place where Bronze Age worshippers performed rituals and sacrifices. Perhaps the priest king wore a gold bracelet on his wrist, and the gold spirals decorated his cloak or hat, shining in the sun as symbols of solar magic. Uncovering the mystery of a mass death. During excavations in the ancient city of Aswan on the Nile, archaeologists discovered 30 tombs dating back to the Greco-Roman period. These burials, found on a hill, contain mummies of children and parents, coffins, papier-mâché masks, amphorae decorated with grape leaf patterns, and offering tables. Ancient oil lamps left by mourners were also found. The necropolis is unique for its terraced layout. 10 levels of tombs are built one above another into the hill, which distinguishes it from the usual 2 or 3 level Egyptian burials. This place was used for about 900 years, from the 6th century BC to the 3rd century AD, when Egypt was ruled by the Persians, the Ptolemaic dynasty, and the Romans. Studies have shown that between 30 and 40 mummies are those of newborns and children under 2 years old. With the help of X-rays, CT scans, and DNA analysis, archaeologists and doctors at the University Hospital in Aswan found that the main causes of death were anemia and infectious diseases, even among wealthy people. The study of the spine in the mummy confirmed the presence of tuberculosis, which could wipe out entire families. A headless Maya statue. In recent years, all the discoveries from Mexico have been connected with the construction of the Maya train railway. I've already mentioned several times in previous videos how many interesting things the builders managed to discover. This time, they found a decapitated statue the size of a person, about 1 meter 65 centimeters tall. Archaeologists believe that the limestone statue is Yamkib, which translates as the god of the phallus or fertility. It depicts a captive who was taken during a military conflict. Prisoners of war with high status were sacrificed, while ordinary soldiers were used as slaves. The sculpture was found in the ancient city of Ashkentok on the Yucatan Peninsula. In the Mayan language, the name of the city means Stone of Three Suns. The settlement existed from around 250 to 900 AD. It was first described in the 16th century. Near the city, a huge cave system was previously discovered, where, according to archaeologists, local tribes hid from Spanish colonizers. The last mentions of this city were in 1500 AD. Most likely, the city ceased to exist around that time. Archaeologists cannot yet name the exact reason why the city died out. Ashkentok is a very important and unique place. There are many engravings and inscriptions here that tell us about events of the past. Thanks to the deciphering method of the Soviet scientist I mentioned, we ourselves are able to read about the events and people who were here more than 500 years ago. Visiting an ancient Mayan structure is one of my goals for the coming years, and when I do it, I will definitely tell you and show you. 6,000-year-old human DNA in the city of Wuxi, China. Archaeologists discovered the DNA of a person who lived here 6,000 years ago. These molecules were found in 2 tombs associated with the Meiji culture of the Middle Neolithic era. Until now, information about the inhabitants of this region was limited. However, thanks to these new discoveries, it has become known that the first people settled in Wuxi at least 6,000 years ago. During the research, which began in April 2000, more than 100 traces of ancient human activity were found, including 2 tombs with DNA. The mammoth pendant is a mystery that was solved centuries later. In 1889, American archaeologist Hilborn Crisson presented the world with an unusual artifact, an ancient pendant carved from oak bark and decorated with an engraving of a mammoth. Such an ornament was special since mammoths disappeared from North America more than 10,000 years ago. But from the very beginning, there were doubts about its authenticity. Cresson claimed that he found the pendant near the Delaware River 25 years ago, but he couldn't explain why he had kept silent about this discovery for so long. He said that he didn't understand the value of the pendant, which seemed strange to an archaeologist. Also, Cresson was known for his questionable behavior. He lost his job because he stole artifacts and sold them to collectors. In the end, the pendant was declared a fake, but no evidence was found to prove it, so it was forgotten for many years. However, in the 1970s, interest in the pendant was renewed, and it even appeared on the cover of Science magazine in May 1976. People once again began to believe in its authenticity and even suggested that the pendant could be up to 40,000 years old. The truth about the artifact was established only in 1988, when radiocarbon analysis showed that the pendant was only 1,100 years old, thereby establishing its age. The pendant was created around the year 885 AD. Thus, the mystery of the pendant with the mammoth was solved centuries later, and this case became a reminder of the importance of a scientific approach and thorough analysis in archaeology. On the other hand, even though this pendant is not 10,000 years old, it can still be considered an ancient artifact. The 5,000-year-old dwarf village, the village of Mahunik, located on the border with Afghanistan, is unique for its small houses built thousands of years ago. The height of these houses does not exceed 1.5 meters, and modern Iranians can barely enter them without bending over. Residents could stand upright in these houses as they were under 1.5 meters tall. The short stature of the residents was due to a lack of food and vitamins, which slowed bone growth. Also, marriages between close relatives due to isolation and lack of means for travel contributed to this. Life in the village was hard, the soil was poor, and the residents grew only hardy crops such as turnips and barley. The situation changed with the development of infrastructure in Iran. The construction of roads made it possible to deliver a variety of food products to the village, including meat and grains. This led to each generation becoming 10 centimeters taller. The modern residents of Mahunik are tall and healthy people, thanks to subsidies and government support. Today, 700 people live in Mahunik next to the small houses of their ancestors. They continue to farm, but now their bodies are strong and tall. The history of the village illustrates how harsh conditions and poor soil made the residents into unusually small, while infrastructure development and government support restored their normal height and health. The Calaveras skull is a fake discovery. Throughout history, there have been many deceptions related to ancient skulls, and each skull has its own legend. Josiah Whitney was a well-known American geologist, taught at Harvard University, and headed the California Geological Survey. However, his failure was getting involved in the scandal with the Calaveras skull. The skull was discovered by miners at a depth of 40 meters beneath a layer of lava. Archaeologist Whitney presented it in July 1866 as the oldest human remains ever found, about 1 million years old. A little later, doubts about the authenticity of the skull arose, but the archaeologist had many supporters. Almost 3 decades later, William Henry Holmes from the Smithsonian Institution examined the Calaveras skull and discovered its modern features, which indicated it was a forgery. Further investigation showed that the skull had been planted by miners who wanted to play a prank on Whitney. The final proof was confirmed in 1992, when radiocarbon studies determined the skull to be only 1,000 years old. This story serves as a reminder of the need to think critically and to be able to collaborate with experts in various fields of knowledge. Archaeologists and scientists always want to take all the credit for achievements themselves. Therefore, when they discover another artifact, they are in no hurry to tell their colleagues about it, but instead rush to tell the whole world that the find is genuine. Mysterious stone pyramids. This discovery was first talked about in 2015, and in my first videos on the channel, I most likely even talked about them. Back then, at the bottom of Lake Bodensee, located on the border of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, archaeologists found a chain of 170 stone pyramids. They formed a 20-kilometer strip running parallel to the shore of the lake, 200 meters away from it. Each pyramid had a diameter of 30 meters and a height of about 2 meters. The pyramids are located on a layer of lake deposits that formed after the retreat of the Rhine Glacier more than 10,000 years ago. Now, archaeologists have more modern equipment to study ancient objects, especially those located in hard-to-reach places. With the help of an excavator, they excavated one of the pyramids to reach the stone layer. There, they also found wood showing signs of rudimentary working. Thanks to this wood, archaeologists were able to at least somehow date the pyramids. So far, there are several theories about how ancient people used the pyramids. These could have been ritual structures or a kind of crypts for burying people, but perhaps it's much simpler. They could have been ancient houses or fish traps. The team of archaeologists plans to return to Lake Bodensee soon to study the next stone pyramid. This might provide additional information for dating and explaining the functions of the mysterious monuments. We know that archaeologists can accidentally discover something insignificant there that could completely explain the origin. Ancient pyramids. Enough with the underwater discoveries. Let's take a closer look at the marriage scam in ancient Egypt. Ancient Roman phallus with wings. In Serbia, in the east of the country, archaeologists stumbled upon an unusual Roman artifact. The find is a tintinnabulum, a wind chime decorated with a phallus. This artifact, discovered on the porch of a house in the ancient city of Viminatium, is a rare and valuable monument of Roman history. Tintinnabula are traditionally significant. They were hung near doors as magical protection for homes and shops. The artifact found is the second of its kind found in the ruins of Viminatium, and its distinctive feature is that it was found completely intact. Made of bronze, the tintinnabulum is currently preserved underground. Its unique configuration includes a magical phallus with wings, legs, and a tail, known as a fascinum. The phallus symbol in Roman culture was associated not only with eroticism, but also with luck. It was considered a powerful amulet against the evil eye and was used to attract prosperity and protect against thieves. The tintinnabulum is one of a class of apotropaic amulets, which were intended to ward off evil forces and provide protection. Such items were widespread in the Roman world and could take the most unexpected forms. The oldest Scottish tartan. New research suggests that a piece of fabric found in the Scottish Highlands in the early 1980s is the oldest surviving tartan, dating back to the 16th century. Tartan is a traditional Scottish checkered fabric associated with family groups known as clans. The sample was named the Glen Affric tartan after the village where it was discovered. The tartan was well preserved because it was buried in a peat bog with low oxygen content. In Scotland, old textile samples are very rare because the soil does not preserve them well. To determine the age of the Glen Affric tartan, the Scottish Tartan Authority ordered dye analysis and radiocarbon testing. Researchers studied the 4 colors used and found no artificial or semi-synthetic materials, which indicates a date before the 1750s. Radiocarbon dating indicated that the tartan was created from 1500 to 1655. At that time, the Scottish throne was held by the Stuart monarchs, Mary, Queen of Scots, and her father James the Pipe. The tartan is not associated with high status, but rather with outerwear of the working class. Items from the 16th century that do not belong to the nobility are quite rare, so this sample is an amazing find. It is believed that the oldest tartan discovered in Scotland, the Falkirk tartan, dated to the 3rd century, has a simpler checked structure than the Glen Affric tartan. However, in this case, only a small fragment of it was found. Stone needles. Archaeologists discovered 6 ancient stone artifacts on the shore of Lake Xiaodako in Tibet. These finds may be the oldest stone needles in the world, and they are about 9,000 years old. The artifacts, discovered by student Yun Chen in 2020, resemble thick needles with a pointed end and a hole for thread. Their elegant design is impressive, as each needle was crafted with great effort. Scientists stated that the needles are made from hard materials such as tremolite and serpentine, which led to the assumption that they were used for sewing thick materials, possibly tents. Scientists used ultra-deep microscopy and 3D modeling to study how they were made, including the complex processes of scraping and drilling. The discovery of traces of red paint on one of the needles is particularly interesting. The color red had important cultural significance for ancient Tibetans, symbolizing vital energy and protection from evil spirits. Some researchers believe that the needles could have been used for weaving nets or as ornaments. However, if these artifacts are indeed needles, This significantly advances our understanding of ancient technologies that allowed people in antiquity to create more reliable shelters and clothing for survival in harsh climates. Features of the Antikythera mechanism. In the depths of the sea near the island of Antikythera, in 1901, a group of Greek divers came across one of the most mysterious discoveries in the history of archaeology. They discovered a sunken ship that was carrying treasures from the ancient world, including statues, jewelry, and most remarkably, a complex mechanism, corroded and covered with marine deposits. This object, which became known as the Antikythera mechanism, is shrouded in mysteries of the past, and today is the subject of numerous studies. The mechanism, made of bronze, is a complex system of gears and levers, consisting of 30 mechanical components housed in a wooden frame. The structure of the mechanism testifies to the high level of knowledge and technical skills of its creators. This artifact demonstrates remarkable mastery of metalworking and knowledge in the field of astronomy. 3D scanning and X-ray tomography have allowed scientists to delve deeper into the structure of the mechanism and understand how it works. These methods made it possible to study every detail of the device without risking damage to it. Thanks to these technologies, it was discovered that the mechanism includes a series of gears capable of predicting the astronomical positions and ephemerides of the Sun, the Moon, and other planets of the solar system. The main function of the Antikythera mechanism was astronomical modeling. The device was used to calculate and predict solar and lunar eclipses, as well as to determine the phases of the Moon and possibly the positions of the planets. This discovery greatly expanded our understanding of how advanced technology and scientific knowledge were in ancient Greece, confirming their ability to create complex computational devices many centuries before the invention of digital computers. Nevertheless, many mysteries of the Antikythera mechanism remain unsolved. For example, the exact purpose of some components and scales, as well as the complete list of its functions, are still not fully understood. In addition, it remains unclear who exactly created this mechanism and whether other similar devices were made that could provide additional information about the technological achievements of that era. The Antikythera mechanism remains a symbol of ancient Greek engineering, reminding us that the history of technology and science is still full of unknown chapters. The aluminum wedge of Aiud, also known as the Aiud aluminum object, is one of the most mysterious and controversial discoveries of our time. According to various sources, it was discovered in 1973 in Romania on the bank of the Mureș River, under a layer of sand about 10 meters deep, next to the bones of a mastodon. The main reason for the conspiracy theories surrounding the aluminum wedge of Aiud is that it is made of aluminum, a material unknown to humanity until the 1800s, while the wedge is believed to be about 10,000 years old. The composition of the wedge includes 89% aluminum, 6.2% copper, 1.8% zinc, and other elements. The production of aluminum requires a temperature of 1,000 degrees, and mass production only began in 1885. The wedge is covered with a thick layer of oxide, which is estimated to be 300 to 400 years old. After the discovery, the object was handed over to the Cluj-Napoca Archaeological Institute for research. However, the dating method is not specified. The basis for the theory of the wedge's extraterrestrial origin is its aluminum composition. Romanian ufologist Florin Gheorghita and other researchers consider the wedge to be evidence of extraterrestrial activity in the past. However, there are also scientists who believe the find is a forgery, the purpose of its creation and its origin remaining unclear. Since 1995, the Aiud wedge has no longer been displayed publicly and is kept in an unknown location, although there are photographs confirming its existence.
Существование.
A 4,500-year-old ritual axe in the city of Wuxi, China, archaeologists discovered an ancient ritual weapon, an axe with an engraving that is 4,500 years old. The axe belongs to the Liangzhu culture, one of the most advanced cultures in China of that time. This culture lived in the Yangtze River Delta, but when floods occurred, the people of Liangzhu were forced to leave their capital and settlement. This led to their complete disappearance. Around 2300 BC, scientists found 329 stone tools, 73 stone and bone arrows, and many other artifacts made of ceramics and jade. The most interesting item is an axe engraved on both sides, with images of tigers, cloud patterns, and birds. The axe was found on a sacrificial platform, and it shows signs of wear and damage. Scientists believe that the axe was not used in battles, but in rituals and ceremonies, to symbolize power. Liu Baoshan, the head of the local Archaeological Institute, said that the patterns on the axe were made using a harder stone tool. This is the first axe with a tiger engraving found in this region. Now we will delve even deeper into history and find out what our ancestors ate more than 100,000 years ago. A relic that is 1,500 years old. Archaeologists from Innsbruck have discovered a rare ivory reliquary in an early Christian church in Würschen, in southern Austria. This unique artifact, which is 1,500 years old, is a box about 20 by 30 centimeters in size, decorated with Christian symbols. A team of archaeologists led by Gerald Graeber has been conducting excavations in this region since 2016. On August 4th, 2022, they found the reliquary under the altar in a side chapel of the church. Although the artifact was damaged, the researchers were able to identify it as a pyxis, a round ivory container richly decorated with Christian motifs. This discovery was the first of its kind in Austria. Around the world, about 40 such caskets are known, and the last one was found about 100 years ago. Most pyxides are kept in cathedral treasuries or displayed in museums, which makes this discovery especially valuable. Ivory that has been underground absorbs moisture, becomes soft, and is prone to deterioration. Conserving the artifact required careful and prolonged drying to prevent shrinkage and cracking. For 2 years, the fragments of the reliquary were conserved for scientific analysis. Researchers are working on a 3D reconstruction of the pyx. This process will deepen understanding of the history and significance of this unique discovery. The mysterious Betz sphere. The origin of the Betz steel ball, found by a family from Florida in 1974, is still surrounded by conspiracy theories. Some suggest an extraterrestrial origin for this find. However, both the military and ufologists have concluded that the object was man-made. Nevertheless, the mystery surrounding the sphere continues to live on. The Betz family found the sphere after a fire, assuming it was a cannonball from the time of the Spanish colonizers. However, the sphere turned out to be completely clean and shiny, not resembling a weapon from that time. In the house, the sphere began to display mysterious behavior, moving on its own and making sounds. Interest in the sphere grew after a series of studies by experts who were unable to fully uncover its mystery. Nevertheless, scientists tend to believe the sphere has an earthly origin, citing its steel composition. The Betz sphere continues to intrigue minds, becoming the subject of speculation and conspiracy theories. Some suggest it is connected to extraterrestrial civilizations, while others see it as merely a lost human artifact. Egyptian sarcophagus and the Simpsons. Archaeologists discovered something unique in an Egyptian tomb, a 3,500-year-old sarcophagus with an image of Marge Simpson from the popular modern animated series. On the lid of the sarcophagus, there is an image of a woman with yellow skin, wearing a green dress and a blue crown that resembles Marge's famous hairstyle. But in reality, the sarcophagus dates back to the New Kingdom and depicts the goddess Nut. The tomb belonged to a 16-year-old girl whose parents probably didn't have much money. However, they did their best to give their daughter a proper burial. When it comes to a coincidence like that, there are only two possibilities. Either the Egyptians predicted The Simpsons, or the show's creator, Matt Groening, has secret knowledge about ancient cultures. Amulets, jewelry, and stone and wooden sarcophagi were also found in the tomb. Sarcophagi from the New Kingdom were often decorated with carvings and paintings depicting the deceased, deities, and scenes from the Book of the Dead. Why do you think the coincidence seems so realistic? Write your opinion in the comments. Log coffin culture. The ancient heritage left by the culture that flourished in the northwest of Thailand amazes archaeologists with its unique burial customs. About 40 burial sites where people found their final rest in teak coffins, decorated with intricate patterns, testify to a highly developed Iron Age culture. Researchers from Germany and Thailand analyzed the DNA of ancient people to uncover the connections between different communities. Between 2300 and 1000 BC, a mysterious culture flourished in the province of Mae Hong Son. DNA analysis of 33 ancient people from 5 coffins showed that genetic kinship played a key role in burial traditions, highlighting the importance of family ties in the choice of burial sites. This research was a breakthrough in Southeast Asian archaeology, presenting the first analysis of genetic and cultural connections at the level of ancient communities. Despite the challenges of DNA preservation in the tropical climate, scientists identified 2 main genetic lineages associated with agriculture, indicating deep connections with the Yangtze and Yellow River valleys in China. Mummy on top of a pyramid. In Peru, archaeologists discovered a mummy that is about 1,000 years old. Researchers believe that the mummy belongs to the pre-Inca Ishma culture. The mummy was buried in a simple round grave on top of a pyramid located in the very center of a residential area of the capital of Peru. Huacapuclana is a monumental clay pyramid over 20 meters high, located in the Miraflores district. This structure, consisting of 7-stepped platforms, was built by the Lima culture, which developed on the central coast of Peru between 200 and 700 AD. This site served as an important religious center for the ancient inhabitants. Ritual ceremonies were probably held at the site. At Huacapuclana, 3 settlement stages were identified before religion arrived.
Селение до прихода испанцев.
The first was the Lima culture. Then came the Huari and Ishma cultures. The Ishma culture, which developed around the year 1000 AD until it was assimilated by the Incas in the 15th century, used the pyramid as a burial site. Medusa, the Gorgon. In the British town of Knaresborough, on the banks of the River Nid, there is the unique cave of Mother Shipton, where objects turn into stone. According to legend, it was here in 1480 that the famous prophetess Mother Shipton was born, who predicted many events, including the Great Fire of London. Initially, the waterfall in the cave was famous for its healing properties, but over time, the locals discovered that objects that were exposed to its water turned to stone. This attracted public attention, and the cave became the first paid attraction in the United Kingdom. Among the exhibits in the cave, you can see many petrified objects, including men's top hats and hats from the 19th century teapots, teddy bears, and even a bicycle. The secret of this phenomenon lies in the high mineral content of the cave's water, which contributes to the petrification of objects. Thus, Mother Shipton's cave stands as evidence of an interesting natural phenomenon and attracts tourists with its history and amazing exhibits, each of which holds a bit of the magic and mystery of the past. They tried to treat cancer. The study of 2 ancient skulls yielded surprising results. Signs of cancer and traces of attempts to treat it were found on them. These findings show that the ancient Egyptians knew about cancer and tried to fight it. The signs of this disease included severe tissue destruction and small metastases. The traces of cuts around the lesions are especially interesting, indicating that the Egyptians may have tried to remove tumors surgically. The ancient Egyptians were famous for their medical knowledge. They knew how to treat fractures, care for injuries, make prosthetics, and even fill teeth. However, their abilities in treating cancer were limited. Scientists studied 2 skulls from the Duckworth collection at the University of Cambridge. One skull belonged to a man aged 30 to 35 with signs of cancer and surgical interventions. The other skull belonged to a woman over 50 years old with cancerous lesions and signs of healed injuries. Researchers emphasize that studying ancient remains is challenging. Incomplete skeletons and the lack of clinical history make conclusions difficult. Nevertheless, these findings offer a new perspective on ancient medical practices and highlight the need for further research in paleoncology. The largest meteorite on Earth. The mysteries of space have always fascinated people, and meteorites serve as evidence of mysterious visits from deep space to Earth. An example of such an incredible visitor is the Hoba meteorite, discovered in Namibia, which still amazes people with its size and history. Unlike the Tunguska meteorite, which left many questions and speculation, Hoba is tangible evidence of cosmic journeys to our planet. Weighing 60 tons, this giant piece of metal, adorned with ancient rust, now stands proudly in an amphitheater built especially for it, and is one of Namibia's main attractions. The story of the meteorite's discovery began in 1918 when farmer Jacobus Brits, while plowing the land, stumbled upon an unusual boulder. At first trying to uproot it, and then examining it closely, Brits discovered that he was dealing with an iron meteorite, whose composition was later determined to be 81% iron and 17% nickel. This discovery became a sensation, since little was known about meteorites at the time, and the farmer dreamed of hitting the jackpot. The issues of transporting the enormous visitor from space turned out to be so complicated that he had to forget about selling it. Since then, the Hoba meteorite, whose weight has decreased over time to 63 tons due to chemical erosion and vandalism, has been placed under protection and recognized as a national monument. Today, Hoba not only amazes with its size, but also serves as a living lesson in history and astronomy, reminding us how small and at the same time important we are in this vast universe. And although tourists continue to leave their marks on it, each scratch is quickly covered by a layer of rust, as if nature itself erases the boundaries between the earthly and the cosmic. An ancient fortress in an oasis. In the Khaybar Oasis in the desert of Saudi Arabia, scientists discovered an ancient fortress wall dating back more than 4,000 years. This gigantic structure is 14.5 kilometers long and 5 meters high, with about 180 bastions, of which only 6 kilometers of the wall and 74 bastions have survived to this day. Radiocarbon analysis of charcoal remains from the excavation site indicates a period between 2,250 and 1,950 BC. Remains of pottery were found on the wall, which confirms its antiquity. Archaeologists believe that this wall was used for several centuries before it was abandoned. The wall was presumably used for protection against nomad raids, marking territorial boundaries and protection from floods. This indicates a transition of the local population to a sedentary lifestyle. The construction of such a gigantic wall required significant resources. About 250 people worked on it for 4 years, using 164,000 cubic meters of stone and brick. The discovery of the wall was made possible thanks to satellite images, which opens up new horizons for archaeological research. Large-scale horse burials. French archaeologists recently made an amazing discovery in Villiers-sur-Indre, uncovering 9 large burial sites with the remains of horses that lived about 2,000 years ago. The burials contained 28 horses, carefully laid on their right sides with their heads facing south. Nearby, the remains of 2 dogs were found, with their heads facing west. These findings date back to the period of the Gallic Wars, approximately between 100 BC and 100 AD, when Julius Caesar was actively engaged in military campaigns. The burials drew archaeologists' attention for their unique features. The horses, just 1 meter 20 centimeters tall, were typical of Gallic horse breeds. The manner of their burial resembled those previously found in other regions of France, which suggests a possible ritual or ceremonial nature. Interestingly, all the horses found were adults, which rules out common diseases as the cause of their death. Scientists from the French National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research are analyzing the bones to determine whether the horses died in battle or became part of a complex ritual. To solve this mystery, researchers took DNA samples from the bones and surrounding deposits to determine whether the horses were Gallic or used by Roman units. The cup of an ancient ruler. In 2014, archaeologists in Athens made a remarkable discovery: a wine cup broken into 12 pieces, which scientists believe belonged to Pericles, the legendary Athenian leader whose rule marked the golden age for Athens. This historical artifact is now housed in the city's epigraphic museum. The most intriguing aspect of this find is the inscription, which includes the names of 7 men, among them Pericles, and presumably his brother Ariphron. The inscriptions engraved on the cup became visible only when the artifact was examined in a certain way. The name Ariphron, standing next to the name Pericles, indicates a deep connection between these figures. It is assumed that the cup was used in Pericles' youth at a wine symposium, where participants traditionally engraved their names as a memento of their time together. The discovery provides a unique insight into the culture and customs of ancient Greek society, allowing us to look into the past and feel the connection between eras. Gold coins at the site of the pagan temple. All the items found in Wingram are truly unique finds for researchers. These small square coins, or perhaps amulets, reflect the culture and art of a distant era when the ancient peoples of Northern Europe practiced paganism and created complex rituals that used such items. The discovery in Wingram is an important piece of evidence of early medieval history in the region and proof of active religious life. The gold artifacts could have served as symbols of wealth and status, as well as fulfilling a religious or magical function. The fact that they were found in the area of an ancient pagan temple only confirms this. Many archaeologists and historians hope that future excavations will bring even more discoveries and help to reconstruct the appearance and functions of such items. Perhaps we still have much to learn about the lives and beliefs of the ancient peoples of Norway. The discovery of 16 hands. Recently, archaeologists found something shocking in the city of Avaris. 16 human hands buried in 4 pits near the palace. And you know what's the strangest part? All of these hands are right hands, and they all belong to rather large people. These hands are traces of an ancient custom described in Egyptian texts. Soldiers would cut off the enemy's right hand and exchange it for gold. By cutting off the right hand, soldiers not only made it easier to count defeated enemies, but also symbolically took away their strength. Whose hands these were remains a mystery. These could have been the hands of Egyptians or those whom the Hyksos fought against. Such a cruel custom existed among both the Hyksos and the Egyptians. No one knows who started it first, but cruel treatment of prisoners was common in ancient Egypt. The Babylonian letter, a tablet written by Idun Sin to his mother Zenu in the city of Larsa in the 18th century BC, is a unique testimony from the time of Hammurabi's reign. This artifact, kept in the Louvre Museum in Paris under catalog number TCL 18111, is written in the Akkadian language. Idun Sin expresses disappointment in a letter to his mother because of the quality of the clothes she sent him. He compares his clothes to the outfits of his peers and repeatedly tries to make his mother feel guilty, hoping that she will send him a new outfit. Idun Sin writes, "May the gods Shamash, Marduk, and Elabrat protect you for my sake. The clothes of young people here get better every year, while you let mine get worse. You made me bad clothes even though the son of Adat and Dinamo, the son of my father's assistant, has 2 sets of beautiful clothes. Even though you are my real mother and he was only adopted, his mother loves him, but you don't love me." This letter shows that the problems and concerns of teenagers have remained unchanged for thousands of years, despite changes in eras and cultures. A giant from the USA. At the end of the 19th century, deep in the dense forests of North America, near a small settlement that is now known as Black Hills, South Dakota, a discovery took place that shook the scientific world of that time. A local forest ranger, while walking along his usual routes, came across an unusually large stone protruding from the ground. He was surprised by its size and unusual shape, and decided to invite a group of archaeologists from the nearest university. When the archaeologists began the excavation, they discovered that the stone was actually part of a giant stone sarcophagus. Inside, they found well-preserved remains of a person whose height exceeded 3 meters. This discovery sparked a lot of debate among the scholars of that time, some of whom claimed that the find could shed light on the existence of ancient giants mentioned in the legends and myths of many cultures around the world. Despite significant interest from the scientific community, most of the information about the find and the object itself were lost over time. Only a couple of photographs taken during the excavation and a few entries in the personal diaries of the expedition members have survived to this day. These photographs, although not very clear due to the limited technology of that time, show the enormous size of the skeleton compared to the people who excavated it. The Black Hills area, rich in history and mysteries, still attracts researchers and adventurers who want to uncover the secrets of ancient civilizations and perhaps find lost archaeological treasures. Thus, the story of the archaeological discovery of an ancient giant human remains one of the most mysterious and unsolved chapters in the history of archaeology. They see madness in his eyes. During the excavations in Herculaneum, the city destroyed by the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD.
В городе, разрушенном извержением Везувия в 79 году нашей эры,
An ancient bronze bust of the Roman Emperor Caligula was found. The 12-centimeter tall bust was discovered in the 17th century, but later its whereabouts were unknown for almost 200 years. Experts believe that the bust was cast shortly before or just after Caligula's death about 2,000 years ago. The bust of Caligula depicts him with a high forehead, thin lips, a small mouth, and a prominent chin. The eyes of the sculpture unmistakably convey the madness that is often associated with this emperor. Caligula III, a member of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, is known for his debauched lifestyle and incest. He was killed in the year 41 AD as a result of a palace coup. After its initial discovery, the bust was given as a gift to the famous English writer and politician Horatio Walpole. Walpole admired the expressiveness of Caligula's face, believing that the emperor was captured at the beginning of his madness. The bust was kept in Walpole's mansion, Strawberry Hill House, and after his death it changed hands several times before disappearing for 200 years. Recently, Oxford University historian Sylvia Davoli rediscovered the bust, calling the event exciting. Each discovered object helps us better understand the lives of ancient Romans. The bust of Caligula is an important archaeological find that sheds light on Roman history and culture. An untouched tomb. Just 30 kilometers from Cairo, archaeologists found an ancient untouched tomb that is 4,400 years old. This amazing discovery was made in the famous necropolis of Saqqara. The tomb was built for a high-ranking priest who served under a pharaoh of the 5th dynasty and his family. You can tell that his life was full. On the walls, there are images of people making wine, playing musical instruments, sailing boats, and hunting. The tomb building is truly impressive. Its interior is decorated with large painted walls, statues, and impressive inscriptions that reveal the names of the priest's wife and mother. Archaeologists have already started exploring 5 burial shafts inside the tomb, and there is still much for us to learn about ancient life in Egypt. Engraving on the knife, archaeologists in Denmark have discovered a runic inscription on a knife dating back almost 2,000 years, which they believe to be the oldest runes in the country. The inscription was engraved on an 8-centimeter iron knife found in a grave beneath an urn near the city of Odense on the island of Funen. The inscription consists of 5 symbols about half a centimeter high and 3 grooves, forming the word Karilla, which in Old Norse means small sword. This find, along with a previously discovered bone comb, became the oldest runic inscription ever found in Denmark. Jakob Bonde, curator of the Odense City Museum and the archaeologist who made this discovery, initially thought it was an ordinary knife. However, after cleaning it with chemicals, it became clear that it contained a word. It's like receiving a note from the past. This is an exceptional find for us and speaks to the development of the early Scandinavian language. The inscription most likely refers to the knife itself, not its owner, about whom nothing is known. This knife is 800 years older than the Jelling stones in Jutland, one of which King Harald Bluetooth used in 965 to commemorate his parents. A peaceful people in America. The sacred city of Corral Soup, located on a desert terrace in Peru, was discovered by archaeologists in 1948. This ancient city, estimated to be 5,000 years old, is recognized as one of the oldest in the Western Hemisphere and is considered the cradle of civilization in America. The main architectural landmark of Corral is the Major Pyramid, almost 30 meters high and the size of 4 football fields. Built around 2600 BC, it is comparable in age to the oldest pyramids of Egypt. Radiocarbon dating of organic materials confirms that Corral Soup existed at the same time as the Egyptian pyramids. Artifacts found in Corral, such as quipu, a system of knots used for storing information, indicate a high level of development and influence on subsequent Andean civilizations. Architectural features, including pyramidal structures and elite residences, point to a complex social and political organization and a powerful religious ideology. The absence of traces of war, such as military fortifications and weapons, indicates the peaceful nature of the society, which was based on trade and leisure. In 2009, Corral Supe was included in the UNESCO World Heritage List for its architectural heritage and its influence on later Andean civilizations. Janus in gold. Underground beneath Wawel Castle in Krakow, archaeologists discovered a remarkable artifact, a gold ring from the 11th or 12th century with a two-faced design unique in Polish history. Unlike the typical Christian symbols of that era, the ring's decoration with two faces may indicate a connection to Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and transitions, who has no counterpart in Greek mythology. This rare find demonstrates the high level of craftsmanship of its creators. The ring, which has a thickness of 1.5, a diameter of 4, and a circumference of 57 millimeters, is distinguished by its intricate finish. This makes it exceptional among other previously found early medieval jewelry in Poland, which was usually either undecorated or had simple geometric patterns. Researcher Jerzy Szybinski emphasizes the uniqueness of the ring, suggesting that it may have been made by local craftsmen and possibly belonged to the upper class of society during the Piast dynasty. The ring was discovered in the Danish tower's basement, built by order of Ladislaw II Jagiello during the castle's reconstruction. The Petrified Book. Archaeologists from Australia came across a mysterious artifact resembling a book, which is estimated to be more than 330 million years old. Yes, I know that not everyone likes it when I talk about thousands and millions of years. That's why this discovery sparked a lot of debates and speculation among scientists. Thomas Kaminsky, a researcher of ancient history, claims that they found a mineralized book with a metal binding, but it can no longer be read. Professor of Archaeology Jane Baum was also amazed by the find, although she did express doubts about its antiquity. Other experts are surprised at how the pages of the book have been preserved for millions of years. Professor of Geology Ian Plimer explains that under certain conditions, in an oxygen-free environment and under pressure, paper can become fossilized. Kaminsky believes that the depth at which the book was found indicates its authenticity. Nevertheless, the question remains as to why the book looks like a modern copy. Could this be an artifact left by a time traveler? Ancient curse tablets. At the bottom of a 2,500-year-old well in the Kerameikos district of Athens, archaeologists discovered 30 ancient curses engraved on lead tablets. With the text on the tablets, people in ancient times called upon the gods of the underworld to harm other people. These curses were ritual texts, usually scratched onto small lead objects. Ancient people are known to have engraved curses on tablets and placed them in wells or graves to curse someone with whom they had serious disagreements. At a certain period in Athens, it was forbidden to place curse tablets in graves. However, wrongdoers came up with a strategy to secretly throw their curses into wells. In the well, archaeologists discovered numerous artifacts and water vessels, as well as coins and food remains. Since water, especially drinking water, was considered sacred, it was believed that each well had a nymph who protected the water, and angering this nymph could have serious consequences. That's why people would throw small vessels with liquids and other gifts into the well to appease these emotionally unstable deities. Stone Age pyramids in Eurasia. In Kazakhstan, near the village of Toktemis, archaeologists discovered a stone pyramid. The pyramid is hexagonal, and its construction dates back to the early Bronze Age, around 2000 BC. The walls are covered with images of animals, especially horses. These drawings and the horse bones found nearby indicate a horse culture. In addition, pottery, gold earrings, and other ornaments were found. This suggests that the pyramid was a cultural center in ancient times. Burials of people with remains of an ancient feast. Archaeologists in Wales have discovered a unique early medieval cemetery near the airport, where burials of women in curled-up positions were found, dating to around the year 500 AD. The bodies were oriented facing south, which indicates specific burial rituals. Along with the human remains, fragments of worked animal bones and pieces of expensive imported glass vessels were found, indicating that the site was used not only for burials, but also for ritual feasts. There may be about 80 burials on the grounds of Fonmont Castle, where the cemetery is located. Of these, 18 have been studied, 4 of which were found in unusual positions. Archaeologists note that the discovery of many bodies buried on their sides in curled-up positions and oriented to the south suggests the possibility of a specific burial ritual being performed. Interestingly, all such burials belong to women. The fragments of glass vessels that were found came from Western France. Traces of butchering and cooking were found on the animal bones, which supports the hypothesis of a ritual nature of the feasts, possibly held in honor of the deceased. The oldest bead in America. An archaeological team from the University of Wyoming found the oldest known bead in North America at the ancient mammoth site of La Prairie in Converse County, USA. At this site, traces of an ancient hunting camp and the remains of a young Columbian mammoth have been preserved. Research, the results of which were published in the journal Scientific Reports, revealed the discovery of a Clovis bead made from hairbone. This item, 7 mm long and 1.6 mm wide, was likely used as a decorative clothing ornament. The bead is polished, has smooth edges, and is covered with red ochre. There are grooves on the outer side of the bead, indicating that it was made using stones or teeth. To determine the origin of the bone material, scientists from the University of Washington conducted a mass spectrometric analysis of collagen. The analysis confirmed that the material was either a metapodial bone or a proximal phalanx of a hair. This discovery became the first convincing evidence of the use of hair during the Clovis era, dating back to about 12,000 years ago. The Clovis era is known for finds of distinctive stone tools, named after the Clovis Archaeological Site in New Mexico. Ancient depiction of psychoactive mushrooms. The Tassili Najar Cave, located in the southeastern part of Algeria, is a true treasure trove of prehistoric art. This site is known for its rich rock paintings, spanning thousands of years. Particular attention is drawn to a painting created about 9,000 years ago depicting a shaman with psychedelic mushrooms. This unique artifact opens a window into the spiritual and cultural practices of ancient hunter-gatherers. This painting was first documented by the French archaeologist Henri Lathiem and his team in the 1950s. They were amazed by the brightness and complexity of the images, among which stood out the figure of a shaman with mushrooms of the psilocybe genus, known for their psychoactive properties. The shaman is depicted with a richly decorated headdress and war paint, indicating his ritual role. The posture and facial expression of the shaman clearly demonstrate a state of trance. Psychedelic mushrooms played an important role in shamanic rituals, as confirmed by numerous examples from various cultures. In ancient societies, shamans used mushrooms to achieve altered states of consciousness and communicate with the spirit world. The paintings in the Tassili cave indicate that such practices also existed in North Africa. The images of a shaman surrounded by mushrooms and other symbols carry deep meaning. The headdress and body paint emphasize the high status of the shaman in society, while the mushrooms highlight their sacred role in rituals. The trance state indicates the shaman's journey beyond the physical world, which was an important part of their spiritual practice. Shigir idol. In 1894, a remarkable discovery was made in the Shigir Bog, located in the Urals in Russia, the Great Shigir Idol. This ancient wooden totem, carved from a single large trunk, is more than 11,500 years old. This makes it one of the oldest known wooden artifacts in world history. The uniqueness of the Shigir Idol lies not only in its age, but also in the complexity of its carvings, which may indicate the existence of a developed symbolic system among ancient societies. Despite numerous studies, many mysteries associated with this artifact remain unsolved to this day. The symbols and images on the idol remain a mystery, continuing to spark debates among scholars and archaeologists about the culture and beliefs of ancient people who lived on Earth tens of thousands of years ago. Such discoveries not only demonstrate the rich history of the region, but also allow us to speculate how many territories that are now part of the Russian Federation were inhabited and developed over thousands of years. In addition, an interesting aspect of Russian history is the story of its territorial expansion. For example, Alaska was part of the Russian Empire until 1867. Later, as is well known, this land was sold to the United States of America. There were also plans to settle California in the early 19th century, where Russia established trading posts and forts, such as Fort Ross. One of the most remarkable episodes is the story about the possible annexation of the island of Madagascar in the 17th century. If you are interested in Russian history and the possibilities of its territorial expansion, you should definitely watch the video featuring lectures on lesser-known chapters of the Russian Empire's history and the states that could have become part of it. The video link is in the description below. The tunnel under the Sphinx. We are setting out in search of the lost library of the ages, the Hall of Records, which is believed to be hidden right beneath the Great Sphinx in Egypt. The American medium Edgar Cayce and other mystery enthusiasts are convinced of its existence. In the labyrinth beneath the paws of the Sphinx, in the mysterious Hall of Records, knowledge of astronomy, alchemy, medicine, and even magic is hidden. Researchers are still not sure whether they are real or not. The secrets of the pharaohs, encrypted in the hieroglyphs in the Pyramid of Teti, indicate that knowledge was indeed passed from hand to hand. These were like funeral gifts. But where is the library where all this knowledge is kept? Edgar Cayce, while in a trance, spoke about the Hall of Records, where the knowledge of ancient cultures is hidden. He claimed that the passage to the hall begins at the Sphinx's right front paw, but it has never been found. A recipe from the grave. Czech scientists have recreated Celtic beer based on research of pollen from an ancient Celtic burial site in Moravia. Beer has deep roots, with the earliest traces going back to the Middle East, where breweries appeared about 5,500 years ago. However, its full history still remains a mystery. Excavations carried out in 2020 and 2021 open new horizons in understanding ancient cultures, revealing the lives and traditions of pre-Celtic peoples. Modern analyses of pollen found at this site have revealed traces of millet and other grasses used by the Celts to make beer. Scientists suggest that some ingredients, such as clover, may have served as sweeteners for the drink, indicating complex taste preferences and technologies of ancient times. The beer created, Toriale, has unique flavor qualities different from modern varieties, highlighting the role of various herbs and spices in its production. The absence of hops is an interesting aspect of the beer's flavor profile, making it similar to medieval recipes. Beer, being one of humanity's oldest beverages, continues to connect people across cultures and centuries. A shocking discovery by miners. Sometimes miners come across unusual artifacts that can surprise even archaeologists. In 2008, an unusual discovery was made at the Zapadnaya mine in Donetsk-Rostov region, at a depth of 900 meters, in sandstones dating back to the Carboniferous period 360 to 300 million years ago. A wheel imprint was found. The mining supervisor Kasatkin, who worked at the mine, shared photographs of the find. According to him, the mine, classified as dangerous due to the risk of sudden coal and gas outbursts, management prohibited any investigation of the object and ordered the work to be sped up. As a result, another smaller print was discovered later and was not extracted for study. Kasatkin claimed that in the mine, which was closed in 2009 and flooded, other amazing discoveries were also found, including prints of giant snakes and possibly flying reptiles. He also mentioned other unusual finds in coal mines around the world, including a wall made of stone blocks and hieroglyphs. These stories, despite how fantastic they sound, make us think about the possibility of ancient civilizations existing that we still don't know about. Discoveries like these can open new horizons for archaeology and history, although mainstream science often ignores such evidence, considering them miners' tall tales. What do you think? Could these mysterious findings really be evidence of ancient civilizations? Or are they just coincidences? Write your opinion in the comments. A unique circular burial. In December 2023, archaeologists from the Museum of Cultural History discovered a unique infant burial at a quarry near Fredrikstad, Norway. Most of the 41 graves contain cremated remains of infants, which is rare for the period between 800 and 200 BC. Scientists determined the age of the buried individuals by the thin fragments of skull bones characteristic of infants. Each grave was surrounded by stone circles, and the remains were placed in urns or directly under the stones. Interestingly, cooking pits and fire pits were found near the graves, indicating rituals and gatherings associated with the burials. This place could have been a meeting spot for the ancient community where people mourned the loss of children. Mass burials of children are rarely found in archaeology. This discovery allows us to better understand the attitude of ancient communities toward children, showing that they were an important part of society. And even thousands of years ago, people had a hard time coping with the loss of their children. A tomb from the time of the ancient empire. The history of China is unique and very interesting. It seems to me that much more should be said about this amazing country, so that archaeology is not associated only with ancient Egypt. So, a few years ago, archaeologists found an ancient tomb in China, built during the time of the Jin Empire. This empire was located in the territory of northern China and today's Russian Far East. Workers discovered the stone tomb in 2019, 650 kilometers from Beijing. Archaeologists found out that the tomb is decorated with figures of lions, sea anemones, flowers, and guardian spirits. One figure is of a woman, the other of a man. Inside the tomb, the bricks look like carved wood, possibly without any paint. In the tomb, the remains of 3 people were found, 2 adults aged 50 to 60 years, and 1 child aged 6 to 8 years. There, researchers also found a land deed with inscriptions indicating that the tomb was built between 1190 and 1196. At that time, this region was under the rule of the Jurchen Jin state. The imperial family came from the Jurchens, a semi-nomadic people of northeastern China. Today, their relatives are the Manchus and Evenks. In 1207, the population of this state was 53 million people. Information about the age of the tomb will help date other structures in this region. From China, we will travel to Israel, where another eerie burial awaits us, an ancient Egyptian scam. Archaeologists found an interesting document about a marriage scam in Egypt. This papyrus is more than 2,000 years old. Just imagine, we can now find out what kinds of scams men were capable of pulling on their lovers in ancient Egypt. This manuscript is a complaint from the deceived bride Philomena to King Ptolemy, asking him to punish Numenius, who had promised to marry her. The man took his former beloved's dowry instead of marrying her. This shows the history of marriage dowries.
Как видите, история брачных афер
has very deep roots. Even back then, people used legal tricks and committed fraud. Right now, we only know of one such documented case. How many of them actually happened in those years? We can only guess. The document was found in the necropolis of Deir el-Banat in the Fayum Oasis. For almost 1,000 years, people were buried here from the 4th century BC until the time of Byzantine Egypt. The manuscript ended up in the burial as material for ritual decorations. The thing is, not everyone could afford to put precious stones and metals in the grave. That's why the ancient Egyptians resorted to a trick. They made necklaces out of pressed pieces of papyrus, which were then used as offerings for the afterlife. Most often, they used papyrus that had already been written on. The next find will also be connected with a mass burial. The oldest human tooth. Scientists have announced a sensational discovery in Germany in ancient dental fossils, which are estimated to be almost 10 million years old, and according to them, do not fit into the established chronology of human history. What is truly shocking is that one of these fossils resembles the teeth of the earliest human ancestors. However, until now, such teeth have only been found in Africa, not in Europe. And even then, the known fossil record is millions of years younger. The 2 well-preserved teeth found near the German city of Eppelsheim in September 2016 are dated to about 9.7 million years ago. One of the teeth, the upper right first molar, is similar in characteristics to other specimens found in this area. But the other tooth, the upper left canine, is different, and researchers say its outline and shape bring it closer to the teeth of hominin species, including Australopithecus afarensis. The problem is that Lucy is estimated to be only 3 million years old, and it is believed that the earliest ancestors of humanity began their migration from Africa to Europe and Asia about 100,000 years ago. So the question is, Who did these teeth belong to, which ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and how did they get there? An unfinished antediluvian structure. In the mysterious valleys of Lebanon lies Baalbek, a city that holds the mysteries of ancient times. A recently discovered structure at this site has added new information, confirming the unique significance of Baalbek for archaeology and world culture. For a long time, the megalithic architecture of Baalbek remained a mystery for scholars. The construction methods and the reasons for creating such massive structures had no parallels. However, the latest discovery offers new interpretations and opportunities for understanding ancient civilizations. Baalbek, located in the Bekaa Valley, is known for its important role during the Hellenistic and Roman periods. Since the conquest by Alexander the Great, the city has undergone significant changes, becoming a bridge between Eastern and Western cultures. Greek culture left its mark on the architecture and art of Baalbek, which can be seen in the distinctive features of its buildings. The Romans, in turn, expanded and strengthened its status as a religious and cultural center by erecting majestic temples and public buildings. The most famous structures in Baalbek are the temples dedicated to Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus. These temples are known not only for their magnificence, but also for the technical innovations embodied in their construction. One of the most significant elements is the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, a giant megalith weighing over 1,000 tons, which was never included in the final construction of the temple. The discovery in the quarry in 2014 only deepened the mysteries associated with these ancient construction methods. The findings showed that ancient builders used technologies ahead of their time, which raises questions about the origin and spread of ancient engineering knowledge. Comparing Baalbek with other ancient wonders, such as Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids, one can notice common features in logistical and engineering approaches. For example, transporting huge stones for Stonehenge or building the pyramids in Giza required not only physical resources, but also advanced planning and astronomical knowledge. Modern archaeological methods such as ground-penetrating radar surveys and 3D scanning are opening new horizons in the study of ancient technologies. Alien beings or extraordinary humans? In 2017, in a cave near the southern Peruvian city of Nazca, journalist and ufologist Jaime Maussan discovered 6 unusual mummies with elongated skulls and 3 fingers on their hands. He claimed that these were alien beings. Among the findings were 4 men, 1 woman, and an infant. Maussan presented the mummies before the Mexican Congress, claiming that they were of extraterrestrial origin. Despite his confidence, experts considered the mummies to be a hoax. However, a recent study of one of the mummies, designated as Maria M01, produced new and unexpected results. Peruvian scientists analyzed Maria using electron microscopy and radiography. It turned out that Maria has biological similarities to humans. Her bones continue smoothly beneath the mummified outer layer, and the elongated skull shows no signs of artificial deformation. The cranial vault shows atypical growth and development, and its volume is 30% larger than that of an ordinary human. Maria is also distinguished by the absence of hair and ears, 3 fingers with 4 phalanges on both hands and feet, protruding eyes and prominent jaws. Maria's feet have a unique structure. The heel bone is different from that of a human. This suggests that she walked with a hunched posture. Maria also suffered from arthritis and had a damaged spine. Maria lived during the same period as the Nazca civilization. This may indicate her connection to that culture. Previous DNA studies suggested that the mummies were modified remains of pre-Columbian humans. The new research raises more questions than it answers. Scientists cannot precisely determine Maria's origin and her unique characteristics. Further research, including genetic testing, is necessary for a complete understanding of these remains. The fact that the ancient alien mummy has many similarities with a real human makes understanding our past even more complicated. Now it is even more difficult for us to understand who inhabited our planet hundreds and thousands of years ago. Scientists brewed an ancient drink. Israeli researchers decided to dive into the world of experimental archaeology and create a drink that our ancestors used to drink. It all started with the discovery of yeast remnants and ancient clay shards during excavations in Israel. These samples, dating back to 3000 BC, were found in various locations, including Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and an Egyptian brewery near the Gaza Strip. Archaeologists and microbiologists joined forces to study and revive the ancient yeast. The researchers were able to bring yeast colonies back to life and use them to create an ancient beverage that tastes similar to the beer that the Philistines and Egyptians used to drink. For the experiment, the scientists used recipes for ancient beverages, creating beer and mead. During the brewing process, some modern changes were made, such as adding hops, which were not used in the ancient Near East. This made it possible to create a beverage with a unique taste, combining ancient traditions and modern technologies. According to Shmuel Naki, the brewer from the Together Jerusalem Brewing Center, the taste of the beverage turned out to be spicy, a bit fruity, and very complex. Yeast played a key role in creating these flavor characteristics, which confirms the importance of its use in brewing. The success of this experiment inspired scientists and brewers to continue their research. The team plans to use the revived yeast to create new types of beer based on ancient recipes. This collaboration will not only expand the range of Israeli beer, but also provide a deeper understanding of the culture and traditions of ancient peoples. Would you like to try a drink made with ancient yeast? Could you immerse yourself so deeply in the history of brewing? While you're leaving comments below the video, I want to recommend you check out my previous videos, which are just as interesting. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.